Here's the classic question. How many pins should I post per day? And right behind it, what does consistency actually look like on Pinterest? Like, what does it look like? Now, the short answer, well, there's no magic number. But the longer answer, the one we're diving into today, is that consistency isn't just about pinning every day. It's about how your pins work together over time, how the algorithm reads your activity, and most importantly, how you can keep showing up without burning out. Now, if you've been stuck wondering whether you're pinning too little, maybe too much, or all wrong, then you're not alone. This is probably one of the top questions in the Pinterest business community. And today we're going to break it down so you can stop stressing over numbers and start focusing on what really matters. Now, I just want to say welcome back to the Pin and Plan podcast. I'm Lisa, your host, Pinterest pioneer, longtime member of the Pinterest business community. You can always find me at Body Mind Mood. Just tag me. I'm also the founder of Body Mind Mood and the Simple Site Lab. And yes, I am admittedly, a Squarespace nerd. Yep, I will admit that freely. Now, each week I've been starting with what's happening across social because, well, what happens on TikTok or Instagram today usually hits Pinterest tomorrow or vice versa. And to my mind, staying ahead of the curve, well, that's how small businesses win, right? So let me zoom out for just a minute. On TikTok right now, creators are obsessing over consistency hacks. This is something I noticed because I'm on TikTok and I've noticed this quite a bit. Things like how do you keep showing up every single day without burning out? People are batch recording 10 to 15 short clips on Sunday, for example, and scheduling them out for the week. So those are the kinds of things you'll be able to see on TikTok. That's what's happening over there. Over on Instagram, well, creators have actually started posting less. Yes, they have. And actually, I've noticed this. I mean, apart from the fact that I do it, but I have noticed this, is that instead of sort of like 7 times a week, for example, many Instagrammers are actually scaling back to like 3 or 4. But the focus is on higher quality, more intentional content. That shift really is interesting because it really does show us that volume alone isn't the magic, right? And I think it would be safe to say that for all social, right? Now, on Pinterest, well, Pinterest has always been a slow burn platform. We know this, and it doesn't reward instant volume the same way that, for example, TikTok does. But instead, it rewards a steady presence, right? So they're going to reward you if you pin once a day, right? For example, each day of the week, and you didn't pin on the weekends, for example, that would be rewarded. That's fair. Now, what does this mean for small business owners like us, like you, like me? Well, it's simple. You don't need to post 50 times a day to win. And that's a bonus, right? I mean, you know, when I think back, like who wants to post 50 times a day or be constantly on a particular platform all day? Like it would drive me insane. You need a sustainable rhythm that keeps you visible every single week. And I've said this over the last number of weeks on the podcast since I started it. And you'll hear me saying it inside the PBC, and other Pinterest pioneers as well will say the same thing. So today, I want to break down what the rhythm kind of looks like in 2025. So how many pins per day is actually realistic? What does consistency mean to the algorithm, right? Like that's a big question mark. And how can you plan your workflow so you're not stuck in the pinning hamster wheel, as it's known? Well, let's start with why frequency itself isn't one size fits all. And it really, truly is not. Okay. And just let me say here before we start, you know, when I first got on Pinterest and I was saying, right, very, very different mindset, even back as far as 2020 pre-PBC, you know, pinning habits and the way that people pinned was completely different. And the kinds of questions that would happen on the PBC were much more, should I pin 5 to 10 times a day? Should I pin 20 to 25 times a day? Some Pinterest managers would come in and say, well, I'm pinning for a client and I'm pinning this much. Is this normal? Right? So these are the kinds of things that kind of encouraged me to do this episode this week. So let's do it. So posting frequency isn't one size fits all. Now, here's the truth. Pinterest doesn't have any sort of hidden rule book. I think we can all agree to that. That says, you know, for example, post 10 times a day or else. Like there's nothing anywhere written by anyone that says that. What it does have is an algorithm that notices patterns, right? It notices when you show up steadily, and it notices when you vanish. That would be me, because I don't vanish, but I'm busy, right? I'm running 2 businesses. I'm doing work with the PBC. I do the podcast here, so I kind of vanish. So that's why, right? 1 fresh pin per day can be just as effective as 10 if it's consistent. Pinning in bursts. So like dumping 50 pins in one day and then going completely silent. No, I've never done that. Confuses the algorithm, right? If the algorithm is noticing patterns and that's something that you do, it would confuse it. It doesn't know whether you're active or inactive, and your distribution will actually suffer. Okay? So think of it like, I don't know, going to the gym. If you go 3 times every week, every week, you'll get stronger. If you go every single day for 1 week and then skip the next 3, you'll lose momentum. Pinterest kind of works the same way. So the real question isn't just how many pins should I pin per day. It's what's the sweet spot, and can I stick to it consistently once I've found it. So let me talk numbers here. And I know a lot of us don't like them necessarily, but let's talk numbers. So based on recent data and case studies, right, that we're seeing, and also what I'm seeing mainly in the Pinterest business community is this: 1 fresh pin per day. Perfect, right? It's perfect for beginners, solo business owners. Why? Because it keeps you consistent and it lets you build up a pretty solid library, like pin collection over time. Right now, 3 to 5 pins per day, this is kind of the growth zone. If you have the content, this helps you test formats, headlines, and seasonal variations without completely overwhelming yourself. Okay? Seasonal bursts. Now, think around key moments. Remember, I did my episode on moments around the holidays. And think of holidays, Black Friday, for example. Holidays like Christmas or big product launch. It's smart to sort of temporarily or, minimize the increase or, temporarily increase your posting frequency around that time, like around the holiday season. But once that rush is kind of over and the holidays have finished, then you can sort of return to your normal baseline of pinning, like how you pin regularly. Now, a few more quick truths here. Repurposing is your friend. I've said this so many times. I've been saying this all year. Repurpose, but do it responsibly. You don't need 5 totally new blog posts or products a day in order to pin, right? Like you don't have to keep creating the actual content and then creating a separate pin for each piece of content. One blog content, for example, can harvest 3 to 5 pins, okay? You can create multiple pin designs for one URL, right? It's not about having a whole bunch of URLs either. Now, scheduling tools like Pinterest built-in scheduler and Tailwind, which is really, really popular with pinners, makes this pretty realistic. So no one has time to manually post 3 to 5 pins a day forever. I mean, let's be real. Who has time to do that, right? I certainly don't. So ask yourself, what number feels doable for me, right? Week after week, and consider without the burnout. Like think about, you want to do it without burning out. Now that's your magic number. That would become the number. Now that leads us to consistency, right? The real key to growth is consistency. So on to the Pin and Plan Pioneer tip of the week. This is where I talk about what I can share with you, help you, give you a solid tip. So focusing on consistency and not on comparison. That's this week's tip. Your business might thrive literally with 1 pin a day while someone else posts 10, for example. But that doesn't make one strategy better. What matters is your ability to sustain it long term. Okay, and that's why I did the episode on batching. So if any of you are new listening to this episode today, you're new to the show, jump back to my batching episode and run into the PBC, grab the download, the freebie that I put out there. This will help you to sort of figure out what your strategy is and stick with it. Now, here's my tip for today. Create a minimum baseline right? A minimum. So for example, commit to at least 1 pin per day, no matter what. Then if you have extra content or energy, right, to add, you can add more at this point. This way, if you do it like this, you won't ever feel like you're falling below what you promised. Like 1 pin is 1 pin, right? No more, no less. And if you do it like that, you won't feel as if you're missing your target. Okay. But part of that tip as well, just as a side note here, is being honest with what you can really do in terms of content, whether or not you can really pin. If you say I'm going to pin 2 pins a day, can you really do that? Or if you're going to do 5 pins a day, can you really consistently do that? You have to be honest with yourself on that. Now, this is why it works. As I mentioned, the algorithm sees a steady stream of content all day, all night, right? And your audience and even new pinners who could potentially be new audience see you showing up reliably. Now, both of these signals help to build trust, right? With your audience, with the new people coming into Pinterest, onto Pinterest, and also for people who are kind of, maybe they found what you do and it's their new passion, right? So they've been on Pinterest for a while, right? So there's all these different kinds of viewers and people who interact. So, you want to build the trust. You want to build signals. If you're not building trust and you're kind of acting spammy or you're doing things that really kind of turn people off, well, then you're going to sort of not reap the rewards of Pinterest. Okay. Now, last week, I just want to get onto this here. Last week's poll results that I did are in, and I had asked, have you ever run Pinterest ads before? That was the poll question. And here's how you voted. 34% of you said yes, and I learned a lot when I did it. 27% said yes, but I feel like I wasted money. 31% said not yet, but I want to try. And 8%, who are sort of my Pinterest outliers, said not interested in ads at all. No interest in running them. And that's fair. No judgment there. Okay. What this does tell me, though, 2 things. A lot of you are testing ads, but not all of you feel confident in what you're learning. Okay. Now, the second thing that I found with this is that it tells me is that there's a big group of you who are curious, but you're hanging back on running ads. And that's exactly why I teach the ad ladder strategy. It's Pinterest ad ladder strategy, and why my next masterclass is focused on budget-friendly ads. That's all I'm going to say for the time being. That the poll question was I got pretty good responses. And just so you know, a lot of people do DM me. It's interesting. They don't vote necessarily on Spotify, but they actually DM me their responses or message me in the PPC. So that's kind of interesting. Now, this week's poll question, I'm going to hold off until just before we wrap up. But I want to get on to the real PPC question and answer here. So from a member in the Pinterest business community, they asked, or they stated, I'm confused about consistency. Is it better to dump all my pins on one day when I have time, or spread them out? Which I thought was a really good question. So my response was, always spread them out. Pinterest is a discovery engine, right? It's a visual search engine, discovery engine, not a feed. It's not TikTok, and it's definitely not Instagram. If you post 10 pins on Monday, for example, and then nothing for the rest of the week, those pins don't get any extra boost. Okay, but if you spread them over 10 days, you're basically signaling to Pinterest that you're active daily, and that matters. Okay, and just know here, I'm going to make a note here. It will take a little time for the algorithm to figure out what you're doing, but once it figures it out, it will start to reward you. A practical example for this would be, one of the bloggers in our community batched 40 pins for fall content, for example. Instead of batching all 40 in September, she decided to batch them out 2 to 3 pins per day over the entire season. What was the result on this? Well, her pins had time to index, and her reach grew steadily for months instead of spiking once and then flatlining. Now, if you're posting consistently and it does feel kind of overwhelming, that's where the batching templates, scheduling tools become true lifesavers. Again, I encourage you to listen to my batching episode. You will get a lot of great info there, which brings me to something now as we're talking about batching. And, tools, something exciting that I've got coming up. I have a masterclass coming up. Now, before we wrap, I want to share some exciting stuff about this. On Tuesday, October 15th, I'm hosting a Pinterest Ads on a Budget masterclass. Okay. I'm going to walk you step by step, literally through how to set up ads on Pinterest without blowing your budget. Now, I know that Pinterest already is doing this, but I want to show you step by step why you want to do this and the things to look for at each phase, each point on the ladder. All the while making sure that you're getting the best information that's available right now. Now, I only opened it up to 30 spots because I want to make sure that there's a lot of like one-to-one as much as possible. I can't do that when there's too many people. This isn't theory. Okay, I'm not doing a theory session. It's literally a live walkthrough. I'm going to show you how I test ads at $3, at $50, and $150 so you can learn without wasting money. Okay, and it's super easy. Now, I'm going to drop the link in the show notes, but don't wait. As I said, spots will go quickly. I've already filled up my class for September, so this is like a secondary class that I'm adding in. Now, new poll question. Let's do it. So, what's your current Pinterest posting frequency? What's your current Pinterest posting frequency? Once a day, 3 to 5 times per day, a few times a week? Totally inconsistent right now, right? Your answers always help me to create future episodes about workflows, batching, sustainable strategies, and any other thing that I can think of. So do share. You can always tag me, as a lot of people do. DM me on Instagram. Tag me at Body Mind Mood on the PBC. If you're not on the PBC, please get on the PBC. It's free. Great place to network. And you can always send me a message on the PBC as well. Okay? Now, that's a wrap on episode 14. 14. Wow. Like, and the summer's gone, right? Like, what's up with that? So what's the takeaway today? Well, basically there's no magic number of pins per day, right? There is no magic number. And you know what? If I look back on my time on Pinterest since beta to now, I would say there probably has never been a magic number. Okay. Just my 2 cents there. The key is choosing a posting frequency you can sustain, whether that's once a day, 5 times a day. Pinterest always rewards consistency, not comparison. Now, next week, we're diving into cross-platform batching, kind of a twist here on Pinterest and other platforms, and how to create once and repurpose everywhere without doubling your workload. Okay? Now, until then, remember, each new episode drops every Thursday, and I would encourage you to keep pinning with purpose, and I will see you in the masterclass, okay? And that's it. See you next week. I hope you have an amazing week. Bye for now.